I recently found out that one of my previous guests, Linda Olsen, passed away from an aggressive cancer, and that hit me hard. So I wanted to bring this episode back today and just honor her and her life's work. So Linda's episode is actually one of my favorite interviews that I've done on the show, and I connected with her a lot. She's just a lovely woman, but one of the areas that's always fascinated me is sound and frequency. And when you look back at older cultures, you see how they healed people, how they understood wellness and medicine. And sound and frequency was often a major part in that process. That's how they understood the human body and how they used it to make the body healthy again. But today's modern medical system has left all that behind. But that's starting to change. People like Linda have brought these old technologies back into the light, and she spent years helping women find natural preventative ways for caring for their own health without pumping chemicals in their bodies. And so that's what's made her story so special, and it's exactly why I wanted to share it with you again today. So I hope this episode reminds us all of the need for more natural health care and the hope that more of us can find real solutions and preventative natural methods, just like Linda had spent the later years of her life trying to reach and teach people with. So I only wish she had found it earlier than she did. But with respect to Linda, and a thank you to Linda for her life's work and what she's done, I hope that you please enjoy this interview. Linda, it's great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
Well, I really appreciate you asking, and it was like meant to be, obviously.
It was actually, so our mutual friend Colton over at Flyover said he messaged me yesterday and said, actually he called me. He goes, Seth, you got to have this lady on. She's fantastic. She'll be a great guest. And then, we got connected and here we are. So it's nice to be here. And I'm really looking forward to this discussion because on this show, I've somehow managed to have these amazing guests that come on and teach me about a lot of things, but one of my favorite topics is just the human body and how the human body works and the ways that we can heal ourselves and the ways that we've been lied to about how the body is healed. And one of those areas that I think is very misunderstood and just not understood at all is the healing power of sound and frequency. And so I guess I'll let you just tell us your story and how you got to where you are today, because I think I'm really looking forward to kind of just delving into this and hearing about this. So I'll pass the mic to you.
Well, thank you very much again. And I used to be a teacher, but I do try to make it a little bit interesting. So we're going to have some fun with this, hopefully. So I've really been interested in sound since I was in the womb, evidently, because I was born completely deaf in one ear. And they actually didn't discover it until I was in the third grade. So I managed to maneuver through life and fool everybody, And they said I used to come up and put my hands on people's, shoulders and maybe look them right in the face. And I always sat in the front row just automatically. I learned some tricks because I could not hear. And then, when I found out, I don't think it changed my life a lot. I just kept, I was a little bit of a musician, played a saxophone and some things like that in high school. But when I went to college, I actually started playing the drums. And that seemed to be the sound that my body needed for some reason, because I was fascinated by them. And I continued to play drums for about 35 years in a band. Now, it wasn't every day, or every weekend, but I played for 35 years. And it wasn't until just the last 15 years that I learned maybe the reason was because when we are in the mother's womb, it really sounds like a drum corps. Just think that's fascinating. So maybe I missed some of that sound because, my hearing wasn't there. And maybe that's why I was so fascinated by it. So sound is the first thing that we have as, in the womb. And it's usually the last thing that fades away when we pass away, obviously. So sound is with us and we just aren't really taking advantage of it. We don't think about it. It's just kind of taken for granted. But sound is all around us. And I just love to tell people about sound. So another thing that really intrigued me and started me on a journey of developing a new product, which you're going to talk about later. But both my mother and sister were diagnosed with breast cancer about 6 months apart. And my doctors just told me to have a double mastectomy and forget about it. Now, I did have a history of a few lumps, but still, that doesn't mean you have a double mastectomy, you know? And so, as a teacher, I'm kind of looking at them, and in my mind, I'm saying some really bad things. But I'm trying to look at them and say, oh, I think I could think of something better, you know? So I started a business called Bras, and you can kind of see a little bit of behind me, all the pink ideas. Have worked with women's breast health for the last 16 years. I quit my teaching job, and I became an ND and, you know, studied natural ideas. And as I worked with thousands of women, it really just kind of got so overwhelming because we're not taught anything about our natural health and how to protect ourselves. And all we're taught is a pill, you know, take a pill, go get examined, take a pill. And so there were so many things that I could be teaching them that it became overwhelming. And so one day I just kind of threw up my hands seriously, and I'm going, God, tell me what to do. You know? And it was like he just showered it down on me and said, no, it's frequencies, you know? So I started studying. And there's a frequency for every single problem that women might have with their breast health. And that became unbelievable. There is a frequency for everything. So I had been teaching women that they could have Epstein-Barr, that they could have E. coli, they could have emotional problems that cause their breast health. There are 8 teeth, 2 up and 2 down on each side, that drain down into their breasts and are so connected. Well, guess what? There's frequencies for every single one of those ideas. So we could simplify everything that they were having trouble with a watch, you know, or frequencies. So that's a little bit of my story there. So don't mean to say too much, I guess.
No. So, well, okay. So it's very fascinating because I know that sound, actually so my wife is a musician, and she put a lot of her time into studying just basically what sound is actually, like the human vocal box and the resonance and what happens when singing, and also how singing and sound can be used as medicine. And so the Chinese, I think it's the Chinese character for medicine has the root character within it of music. And I'm pretty sure that it's that relationship. And so even though it sounds like, you know, I remember actually when I first started covering light therapy, doing shows on red light, I remember thinking at first as I started learning about it, gosh, it seems so woo-woo that you can use light to heal yourself. We're so used to using pills and balms and everything, but actually light is very similar to sound. It's a frequency, and it has profound healing effects on the human body. And the ancients have known that for a very long time. It's just that I think a lot of that ancient knowledge was hidden in the modern medical industrial system because they don't want us to have access to it, because they want us to be taking a pill for everything or cutting something out if it gets bad, right? Like cutting out thyroids and tonsils and wisdom teeth and breasts. It's pretty, you know, third world in a lot of ways, right? In terms of how we approach medicine.
Okay.
Exactly. And there's a book that my wife had read, I think it was called Sacred Sounds. And it was and you'd probably be very fascinated with it if you haven't read it, but it went into like the sound of language and sound of singing and how they could produce even the human voice, the resonance of a human voice could actually heal a body if they understood how to hit the right frequency. And so it's fascinating to me, but I guess in your kind of journey of learning this, how did you understand the connection between sound and healing? And how does that connection work?
Well, just kind of some research, just like you are talking about. You're understanding it more and more. I didn't understand it as a child, you know, but I did find a study with 2 women. It was only, you know, a very small study, but a composer and scientist taught 2 women to basically to hum a certain tone for 3 hours. It seemed like a day for a month. Now they had breast cancer, but at the end of that time, when they looked at them again, one woman's breast cancer had completely disappeared. And the other woman, they went ahead and did surgery on her and they found nothing. So right there, we know the power of sound. And we've made fun of it. You know, there's been shaman and, you know, all kinds of humming and chanting and Tibetan bowls and all kinds of instruments for thousands of years. And today it's not, some of it is coming back in, but we have poo-pooed the fact that sound could do anything. But to me, it's the basis of everything. I mean, we were both basically spoken into existence, and just the idea that, Genesis 1:2, it says the Spirit of the Lord was hovering, and so that's a vibration. That's a frequency. I mean, you can look all over the Bible for different ideas if that's of interest to you. And one that really I talk about a lot sometimes is stones. Even the rocks cry out my name. They know the frequency of every single stone, and everything has a frequency. So what have we done with it? As far as I could tell, we've just measured it. So I wanted to put it to use somehow. And so that's kind of how I got there. So I think maybe this might be a good time to show a couple of ideas and pictures, if you'd like to do that.
Yeah, so we'll start with, are these Sumerian? What are these, what we're looking at here? If you could go back in time and buy oil before the world relied on it, would you? Of course you would. Anyone would. So why aren't you buying silver right now? You see, the people who recognized oil early didn't just make money. They got ahead of one of the biggest economic shifts in history. And today, a similar opportunity is unfolding with silver, because silver is a lot more than just a precious metal. It's a critical resource used in solar panels, electric vehicles, defense systems, AI infrastructure, and even these massive data centers that are powering our digital world and the surveillance grid. So while demand keeps growing, it's actually still affordable enough that the average American can start accumulating it right now. And that's why investors are turning to silver to protect against inflation and own one of the world's most important strategic resources. Don't be the person who looks back in 10 years and says, I saw it coming, but I just didn't act. I'm sorry. So visit goldwithseth.com and learn just how easy it is to own physical silver. Again, that's goldwithseth.com. And here's something a little bit extra. If you just mention my name when you reach out to Noble Gold, they're going to send you a 1/10 ounce of gold coin just as a thank you when you open a new qualified account. So again, that's goldwithseth.com.
Yes. So I developed a watch, a wave watch. We haven't really introduced that yet, and we'll be, still be talking about it later. But I have been telling people for quite a while that, this is the world's first frequency therapy watch. And then somebody sent me these photos and they said, Linda, are you sure? She looked, and I don't know if you can see them close enough, but they've got something that looks exactly like a watch, like this one, on their wrist. Can you see it good enough?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, you can see it in these. You can see it in the images. Then the bottom right one, you can see, like, he's got a wristwatch on. He's holding a lion. He's got a great beard, and he's got a wristwatch. And you can see in all these that they've got, but it's not a bracelet. It'd be easy to look at it and say, oh, it's a gold bracelet. No, there's a face and a band on there.
So you can't say that it doesn't look really, really similar to this. So doesn't that make your head spin? What did our ancient cultures know that we haven't really caught on to? How did they use things? What did they do with them? And all of this ideas has really disappeared, But I think that they must have known a lot. So the next picture kind of shows another idea. So I'm going to kind of take you through some ideas that I think are fascinating. Now, this is a picture of sound. They actually know how to do that now. It's called cymatics. That's us seeing sound. And we kind of know, we can see a vibration that goes across like this, a sound. And we've all seen those pictures. But if you actually slice that vibration and look at it the other way on the end of it, you would see these ideas right here in this picture. So I made it very light because what's happening as we speak, all of these sounds are going through the room. They're like a shadow behind us. They're really moving through. And they're just fascinating because every sound has a different look to it. Now, you'll see in the next picture how I think ancient cultures could have used it. What about that idea? How many of you have seen ancient churches that have these windows in them? Is that not amazing? And you can look at old fabrics that they seem to, a little bit more rugs, I should say, where this is obvious. You can see tiles where this look is obvious. And it just goes on how this look that we are saying looks just like sound has been used in ancient culture. So they've actually taken tools into churches and measured that the sound of the church resonates. Is that not fascinating?
It's incredible because I'm looking at the shape of the interior in the ceiling, and I wish I had the video to pull up. I might have it saved somewhere, but I remember I'd come across this before, where there was someone that was talking about kind of old world technology. And have you ever heard of the whole kind of idea of the bells, and how at one point they kind of decommissioned all the bells and got rid of all these bells but why is it that the church has always had the bell, right? Because those bells were tuned to certain frequencies, and that bell could actually be used for healing. And so in addition to, I'm sure warding off evil and other functions of sound, but this guy that I was watching, he was talking about how the interior of these churches were made to reflect the sound in a way that when you're sitting in the middle and you have a choir singing or whatever's happening, the big pipe organs, right? And those are obviously a little more contemporary in the time, kind of scheme of thousands of years, but how even the interior of these old churches and cathedrals was made to reflect the sound, so people could literally, by going to church, be healed. And it's like, it makes sense, right? It's like, they weren't just building these fancy buildings, they were building them as a place of healing, as a place to get closer to God. And I had pulled this up. I saved this video a few months ago, but I didn't have a chance to play it yet. But I want to play this quick video. This is a video. This is this guy posted this. He said, the first time I heard something like this, I was 22 and just happened to walk into a cathedral while in France. They were only practicing, and it literally stopped me in my tracks. It was like heaven opened up. How did Catholics trade this for what sounds like bad 70s music? Well, that's a good question to ask. That's a whole different topic, but I want to play this really quickly. It's 2 minutes long, and I asked anybody who's watching or listening to just close your eyes and listen to this, because if there's something that would convince you of how powerful sound is, it's this right here. So I'll play this, and we can listen to this for the next 2 minutes. Isn't that it's heavenly? Like, it's the best way to describe it.
It is. And I tend to think that they did use those churches for healing because we haven't found any quote unquote evidence of giant hospitals or anything we would call that places for people to go for other ideas like we have today. So they had some different ideas than us to use and to help people with. I think that's obvious if we just open our eyes. So it's very interesting. And the bells are another idea that is just great too. It's a tone. And so that's why I chose to, we have that tone inside us. If you put your hand up to your chest, I mean, you can feel that vibration, how important it is, So I chose to work with something that is the closest to us that we can get, where today modern medicine has gone as far as they can get from that idea. And they are using, petroleum and oil-based products and plastics and, how many things can I say they're using that are incorrect rather than something that was natural and God-given to us. So it's very important that we get back to our basic roots and our basic ideas that we were given to heal us with. And acoustical sound is between 20 and 20,000, but there are higher and lower sounds, but we can access those very easy. But obviously anything that's within that range is something that we could possibly access to heal. So it's very, very important to get that basic idea of how it can work. So the next slide kind of illustrates that, I believe.
Yes, let me pull that up here. So looking at this right here. Yeah, so what are we looking at?
So this is a slide that came from Stanford Med, their research, and they are showing heart cells. Each one of these squares is a different heart cell, and they've manipulated it with an acoustical sound. Each one of them is a different acoustical sound. So that shows how all these different sounds going through your body can change it, can rebalance it, can, move it around, can realign it, can do something with it. So when sound goes through our body, it's changing a lot of things. And here's an example of heart cells. Isn't that just like the windows? Again, it's another view taken by Stanford Med. So we are getting more and more towards that era of finding that things do make sense a little bit more. Does that make sense to you?
Oh, it's incredible looking at those because it's amazing to think that they could change the shape and structure of these cells using sound. But what's also amazing is to look at how beautiful those patterns are. And it makes me think that there's so much that we don't see and understand and know about how this world works. Even the best I think the best scientists are oftentimes furthest away from the truth when it comes to this, because you look at these patterns and it makes you think, gosh, if these are just how the cells align from hearing those sounds that the acoustics that they've used, what's happening all around us? But also what happens when we're listening to sounds that are negative or destructive. Because I'm sure you're familiar with Dr. Masaru Emoto, who did the water crystal studies and played the different sounds and kind of captured how they impacted the shape of the water crystals as they froze. And recently I took my girls to a indoor water park because it's cold right now, and there's a water park, and we got a family membership, and they love it, and because they're just little girls, and I love it too, right? I get to swim and everything, and it's a beautiful park. But the problem is that they're playing this like modern R&B music, and I'm thinking, not only is it just kind of loud and distracting, but I'm thinking, gosh, how different would this be if it was just quiet, but also if they played something beautiful? How would it affect the mood? Because I could see, and you can just see or listen to the agenda. You can see that it's like with everything, they've taken the truth from us, they've hidden it, and they've given us poison and destructive things in disguise of like the best thing. If you look at the top 20 charts in the music, it's garbage, and it's machine, it's alien, it's these kind of pumping heavy bass beat and backbeat sounds that they make you tense inside. And I'm thinking this has got to be intentional. There's no way, maybe not the person who runs the place has that bad intention, but from the very high level of the people that control the music industry, they know this stuff, and they know what they're doing by feeding us these horrible sounds.
I think so. But I think that we can use, sound for the good.
Oh, yeah.
And so, it can be rebalanced a little bit, so they, Emoto showed that, when your thoughts change to positivity, or when somebody learns that they should, if they think negative all the time, their body is going to be negative and there's going to be problems. And then, everybody needs to learn that music is very important in our life, and our younger children who are listening more to this, we have the chance to share with them some different ideas. But so far, there has not ever been any evidence that this music is going to harm you. Maybe that's, don't want to do too rash of a word there. They aren't able to do that, if it's in the acoustical sound of our voice. So we all know that if we have a favorite song, that we can turn it up on the radio, as we're driving down the road, we're going to move to it and it's going to, do something for us. But we can use music for the positive. Some of it is not as positive, but it doesn't mean that we still can't change, turn the dial and learn something different or hum along with a different song. So I don't know how to say that. It's not,
Well, I want to pull something else up. Just as another reference point for this, this is just a quick video that I think that also kind of shows what these images are showing. And this is it's just a sound resonance experiment. So I haven't watched this before. We won't play the whole thing, but they start with a quote that I see that actually, funny enough, this is one of your quotes that you have too, I think, on your website. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. And so turn down a little bit. So what this person did, as this video is continuing, is they have as you'll get to it here, there's a board that they're using, that they're playing music, they're playing frequencies into, and they put sand on it, so you can see right here. Okay, or yes, the guy's sprinkling some salt on there. Let's see if there's any useful audio here, if it's just... Yeah, as the pitch of the tone increases, watch the patterns.
And so the idea is out there. Sound can change our cells, and here's the visual of it. Is that not just lovely?
It also, it's like, how could you be an atheist and look at this stuff and not think that there is a divine creator? It's amazing.
I can't quote exactly where I saw this, but they're saying, see, this almost proves that sound made our mountains and hills and valleys, because this is a small version of sand shifting, to make different patterns.
It makes sense. Anyway, it goes on, and he's got, he goes through a bunch of different patterns and shapes, and but anyway, just to me, it's that, like, what we're watching here happen with the sand it's the exact thing that we saw here with the sound waves and the cells. It makes you think, if sound can do that to sand, what can it do to our own bodies? Right.
And so sound can be used so easily. It's not going to cost you necessarily. You don't have to keep buying medications. And I'm not trying to tell you to go off your medications, but you don't have to buy something over and over again. And a theory behind this is that sound moves through our body very, very quickly. Just like Emoto said, you can change images from very negative to positive and see the difference in those. And that happens really quickly. So it's very important to realize a few other ideas about sound.
Exactly. So I'll let you continue. I'll stop interrupting you in your presentation.
No, I love that you're doing this. This is perfect.
Yeah. I was a kid in class that was always raising my hand.
So this goes on to the next thing that you introduced right away. So you just mentioned Tesla and his quote. Well, this is what Tesla taught us that we're not realizing. he named something, he called it the mortal oscillation rate, MOR for short, was him studying the stages of DNA. And this is Tesla. And he's saying that mortal oscillation rate is the frequency or the resonance that something will start to vibrate and self-amplify a like resonance. So this sounds kind of complicated, but it's so easy. It's the example of somebody singing a high note and breaking a crystal goblet. That's what he just described. We can use a frequency to destroy things. So in the next picture, look how we could have been using this for over 100 years, because Tesla told us this in the 1900s, that time period. So here again is an example of that mortal oscillation rate. They just used a frequency, which was 1,150 hertz, the sound of our voice, basically. And they introduced it to a microbe, which actually had that same frequency. And when those frequencies meet, they just kind of self-amplify, and you'll see that pathogen basically disintegrated and fell apart. So how come we haven't been using that? Why wouldn't it be so much easier to introduce frequencies into our body to resonate and actually clean our body up or change something, realign, reshape, whatever word you wanted to say? And we can see that it happens time and time again in that Stanford Med example. So in the next slide, I've actually forgotten what I had on it, but this is telling us so much more about why I developed something called the Wave Watch. And so if you're interested in the Wave Watch, it is a watch. It's not hooked up to the any EMFs or Wi-Fi or anything like that. And it has 1,100 frequency sets embedded into about 150 major ideas. So it has been a tool that has made me cry a lot, because people have given us some amazing testimonies. So this is a tool, again, that is using all these ideas that we've already talked about. So it has a speaker on the back of it, right on, and that goes right to your wrist. And this is using the idea that every cell has about 70 receptors. And when they feel a vibration, like they would by wearing the watch, then those cells start to vibrate. The next cell vibrates, the next cell vibrates. And then that's just a chain reaction, again, that goes through your body faster than the speed of sound. So it is an amazing tool, because we've been able to harness that and put that on your body without, needing the use of sitting there and being hooked to a computer, or some of our earlier tools were called Rife frequency generators. Have you heard about those?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. With Matthew Rife, I think his son or grandson, I think, is still involved in his generators.
Mm-hmm. So these are larger tools. They cost a lot of money. The last I heard,
thousands of dollars.
$12,000 to $80,000, and some of them, different designs. Some of them you had to put your feet on a plate and hold some rods to even get the frequency, so all kinds of different designs, but not really accessible to everybody to use unless you were really into that. So that's why I took the whole idea of the Wave Watch, and it's basically like a Rife on your wrist, with frequencies on it that, again, were measured over 100 years ago. But the back on that story is that we were told by the powers that be, you've already kind of mentioned it, that we shouldn't use these, and they actually outlawed the use of frequencies for healing. So
really?
at the turn of the century, around the 1900s, we had homeopathic hospitals and we had allopathic hospitals. Now people say, well, what does that mean? So allopathic hospital is what we have today. Okay. All into medicines. A homeopathic hospital is what I have behind me. Wrong hand there. But see those bottles? That's homeopathic medicine, basically.
Oh, those are the little little white balls, right? Little homeopathy balls.
No, these are actually liquids. These are actually liquids. Okay, a little bit more like a motor, I guess is what you'd say, because these are in the liquid form. So that this is from Hahnemann in mid 1850s in Germany. And through lots of experimentation, they figured out that they could actually duplicate a frequency from making an herb. They would take an herb and pick it. They knew that frequency would actually work for healing something, but they diluted it. So they would make this mixture, and then they take 1 drop out of it and put in 100 drops of water, and then they'd shake it up, and then they take 1 drop out of that, throw the 99 drops away. They put it in 99 more drops of water and shake it up. And then they kept continuing to dilute it until sometimes it was, 24,000 times weaker. It was very interesting. So that's what a homeopathic is. It is a frequency. The only thing that's left is the frequency from that original herb that they started out with.
So
they tested
I had no idea. So that's kind of the foundation of homeopathy is.
So isn't that interesting? That they figured that out. And one thing that I think was fascinating is that they knew that the supplements, or the homeopathy that they developed or that they delivered on horseback, think about how it got jiggled out, that it worked a lot better than somebody who just picked it up in the office and it had all of that succussing, is what they call it. So that has been around for a while. And then in the 1900s, that might have been 1930. Someone named Bach, Edward Bach, I was trying to get the correct name. Dr. Edward Bach actually had an intuitive ability, and he could put his hand above a plant and kind of feel what emotion it helped with. Now, up to his stage, all of the homeopathy had been for herbals, for physical. And his idea, he could feel what plant to use for emotions. So he developed remedies that are called Bach remedies just for your emotions. Well, today they're measured. So now they're turned into a frequency that we can put on your wrist because they really worked phenomenally. So he did the same idea. He made a homeopathic using something specifically for emotions.
So those homeopathic medicines there, because I never knew much about homeopathy. I've like my wife took some during her pregnancy to help out with, as she was kind of getting closer to kind of when she was doing everything. I knew so little about it, but it was just this little kind of, at that point, these little white balls. And so am I understanding correctly that the foundation of that treatment or homeopathy is being able to measure the frequency of something existing, a plant that's growing, know exactly how that frequency, what ailment that frequency applies to, whether it's physical or emotional, right? And then kind of capturing that frequency through that method you talked about within the water and everything. And so
by diluting it down.
So is frequency the foundation of homeopathic medicine?
Homeopathy. That definitely is.
I did not know that.
We had homeopathic hospitals, and then we had allopathic hospitals. Well, there was quite a bit of work done and some things written, and people turned away from homeopathy. There was a whole shift. And of course, those hospitals shut down under, bad circumstances, and the allopathic hospitals that we know today survived. But again, there was some background, lots of bad information put out to people instead of the natural ideas that we could be using today. Continuing frequencies, we were steered to pills.
Incredible.
And medicine in a completely different way. So I keep saying we'd be 100 years ahead if we had not made that abrupt turn and turned away from frequencies.
Gosh, I mean, I feel like we'd almost be 200 years ahead, right? Because if we had, instead of having the last 100 years of misinformation and lies, if we had the extra 100 years on top, of advancing, it's like, imagine where humanity would be right now. But the good thing, though, I know that I can see just your countenance as you're a silver lining kind of person. There's always the good side to things, but the good thing is that now people are learning this. And so even though it disappeared from the textbooks, the medical schools 120 years ago, it's now coming back around, and people are en masse. They're abandoning the medical industrial complex, and they're seeking alternative ways of healing, whether through sound, through light, through parasite cleanses, through all kinds of things. And so it's amazing. But I'll let you I'll let you read
One more
through.
thing I want to share.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah.
One more
Yes.
thing I want to share about that fun idea is that why do we have to take our medications over and over again? And sometimes they don't work for months. They say be prepared. It'll be 2 months before you'll feel any difference. Here's the answer. They knew that frequencies travel through your body quickly, faster than the speed of sound, and make changes very quickly. When we take a medicine, it does go through our body, but it's a chemical frequency. And it moves so slow through our body that our body burns it up, and only 2% is absorbed by our body. So, of course, we have to take that pill over and over and over again before we see some good. But frequencies can act very, very quickly. So they didn't want that competition, for people to be able to see, well, this doesn't work very quick and this works quickly. So they eliminated their competition lots of different ways.
Incredible. Yeah, it was Rockefellers, Carnegie's, a lot happened.
Yep.
Early 1900s. You saw so much happen. But speaking of the organizations, I'll let you give your quick disclaimer because I know that it's important for legal reasons, right? Is that appropriate?
Yes. So we're going to be talking about, what I developed a little bit that kind of goes with all of these ideas that we've just covered. And so I call it the Wave Watch, and it's a low risk acoustical frequency product. And it's a general wellness product, and it's designed to support self-care and overall wellness. It's not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, prevent any disease or medical condition. I might give you some testimonies, but somebody else telling how they use the watch. And then the FDA, the Wave Watch is not FDA approved or classified as a medical device. Okay. Basically, it is using frequencies that are still considered experimental.
Well, there we go. Get that out of the way. Yeah, of course, you have to say that.
Yeah. So. And I don't know what the next picture is.
So next we have the it looks like an unboxing. Let me see.
Yeah, if you want to show that, or is there anything? Yeah, we want to cover.
Yeah, just
so this is the product that I developed. Mm-hmm. And Seth talked to flyover conservatives, and they had used it and had some great changes, and they were very, very excited about it. So Seth hasn't got a watch yet, but he will have something to share with us soon, I think.
Oh yeah, I'll be getting one for sure. So just a nice little kind of binder case for it. And there it is. And so there's no Wi-Fi, right? It's not going to be tied into, it's not a smart device. It's not a wearable, right?
Yes. And I kick this in and say it doesn't measure or monitor anything. I think we're kind of we're going the wrong direction. Why do we have to have everything monitored? Why do we have to know how many steps we take every day? And then the tool that's monitoring us is actually negative for our health. So I have developed a tool that tries to fix 1,100 ideas. It doesn't monitor anything. It works to change your body. And so this is an idea of the little booklet that was included with it. And again, there are about 1,100 ideas within 146 categories, basically. So lots and lots of categories. And just to be silly again, but how I explain I've got 1,100 ideas in there is if you can kind of clue into self-care, and the first one you'll see there says after party support. Now we're being vague here because we had to think of a word that would cover it all. But when you have a hangover, people are laughing, hopefully. When you have a hangover, you immediately think, oh my gosh, headache, dehydration, diarrhea sometimes, kidney support, liver support, inflammation, that headache, if I hadn't already said that one. And so what I've done is actually put a frequency for every one of those ideas into the after party support. And so all you have to do is touch one button. Now, when I first started, I would have to say, hey, if you've got a hangover, play hangover, but then go to liver and then go to lymph nodes and then go to headache, that kind of thing. Now it's all been done for you. So that makes it much, much easier. So another example. Yeah. Yeah. So another example would be with breast health. When I was actually developing this product, the prototype, there were a lot of women in my office because I worked with breast health. And 9 women had breast lumps go away in about 30 minutes. Now, I know that's a big statement. I'm not saying it was breast cancer. I have those written testimonies. And what I'm saying is that I learned that if I combined lymph detox, inflammation, pain, and trauma, and frequencies for the particular type of lump that it was, and also kidney support and hormone supports, that those lumps tended to go away very quickly. But if I just let them play a frequency that said cystic lump, it didn't go away. So when you made a combination of things, it went away very quickly. It seemed like. So we're starting double-blind studies on things. There are so many things and everything has a frequency. So we are now starting studies on anxiety because that's been one of the major things, emotions that it's helped with very quickly. Pain has been over the top amazing. And then the third study would be on sleep. So we started with those, but we could have a lot more studies going on because I also had about 30 people in my prototype in my office come in and they had kidney stones. And within 30 minutes, when I did a variety of ideas, those kidney stones seemed to have gone away. We did a urine sample and it was full of flat. One lady had like 5 rice-sized granules in her urine in 30 minutes.
That's astounding because you made the point earlier in saying that typically you go in and they say, okay, take this for the next 30 days or take it twice a day for the next 2 weeks. You just mentioned 2 different instances where people had the effect of this within 30 minutes. And that's astounding because we're all used to, growing up, whether it's a steroid treatment for poison ivy or something, it's like, okay, take this for 2 weeks or for 1 month or for 2 months, and then you'll start seeing some effects of it. But you mentioned, I think it was 9 women that had lumps in their breasts that seemingly went away within 30 minutes. And you had multiple people, even more people that had kidney stones that within 30 minutes, obviously you can't feel
the pain was gone.
Yeah,
the pain was gone.
You can't feel the difference in saying, oh, there's no more stones in there. I don't feel the stones anymore, but you feel the pain go away. But then you're saying that they urinated out like the pieces of dissolved stones. Is that right?
Yes. Yeah.
Wow.
So I have testimonies, written testimonies on all of that. And then another one, I could keep telling stories all day, but a lady came to our booth and she had essential tremors. Okay. She's like this. She hadn't been able to hold water for over 3.5 years. So somebody put the Wave Watch on her at our booth and we put it on inflammation, pain, and trauma, or what we call wave relief, relief from those ideas. And I am not exaggerating because I have this lady's testimony in a video. In 3 minutes, her tremors were gone that she'd had for 3.5 years.
That's incredible.
Okay. So it just goes on and on. Another time I had a lady that came to my office and she couldn't move her neck. She was having neck problems. And I said, well, how long have you had this problem? And she said, well, 36 years and 10 days and 2 hours, something like that. I'm going, what? She goes, yeah, it's when my daughter was born. I know the exact moment my daughter was born. She was plotting all these, exact times. And so I put the Wave Watch on her and we set it for upper joint support. And I turned around to grab my phone and then I turned on the video and then I just turned around to take a video of her. And she's going like this. And I said, I thought your neck was messed up. She goes, not anymore. So how long did it take me to grab my phone and put it on video? So that's what they didn't want us to know. They didn't want us to know that frequencies can make a big change in your life very quickly. Now, I'm not saying 100% for everything, but I'm saying it is enough for us to be aware and to harness those ideas. So that's what I've done. That's what I've tried to do. Now, I can share too many things. I cry a lot because I have shared the fact that I'm deaf and I'm missing a part, and people know that. But somehow, 7 people have been able to get my phone number from my customer support because it's so important, and they're able to tell me personally that they've taken off their hearing aids by wearing the Wave Watch.
Really?
7 people. Yeah. I mean, you just can't even imagine some of the things. There's a frequency for everything.
Wow. So, do you have any of the videos that we can look at? I know
Yes, I think that there might be coming right up.
Okay, yeah, let me see.
Had chronic back pain for my entire life, and then after my son was born, the joint pain migrated to my neck and my elbows and my hands and my feet, my knees, and everywhere else.
Wow.
Yeah, so pretty much all over. And I just wore this watch for about 20 minutes, and I feel better than I have in years, which
Oh, wow.
is completely true. Like I can feel
That's
like
amazing.
I can move better than I have in a very long time.
Wow. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So is that the woman that it was when her daughter was born?
No, this is a different
Oh, it's a different
example
woman.
completely. Yeah. So, I think she said 20 years. She feels better than she had 20 years, or it took 20 minutes. Maybe that's what I missed. Okay. So it took 20 minutes. And so things happen very fast with sound, and they don't want you to know that. They want to be able to keep selling meds day after day, month after month. So they
Incredible.
get us coming and going.
And here's this guy here.
Hello from Denmark. I just love this wave watch. When I got it, I have some tooth I have to pull out, and I have so much pain. And about 2 hours, it was gone. The pain was gone. This week, my fiance also has some tooth to pull out, so she borrowed it, and it was gone, all the pain. And I'm just loving it because it was from heaven. My daughter has a lot of issues psychologically, but she tried the brain frequencies, and it was all gone. She could stand up and walk. She has been in bed for 2 years, and she has a lot of people to help her to get her to a bathroom and all the things. And after 2 sessions with a watch, she could stand up, and we walked around 1 kilometer. She said, "Dad, I need a watch."
Incredible.
Don't you just want to cry? Here, this girl psychologically brained something. She couldn't even walk. She'd been in bed for 2 years. Cried, So I see this every once in a while. I kind of get teary-eyed again, But so frequencies can work for emotions too. And for so many of our children who have problems, we do have, a lot of testimonies. But I'm not trying to say that it works for everything. I'm just trying to say you have to try and, see where it gets where it gets you.
Exactly. So, okay, so we got a few more slides here. I'm going to look at with you. So what is this showing us here?
So this is where I tell people to start first thing when they get the watch. People say, well, what do I do? Now, unless you have an obvious ache or pain, if your knee's in trouble, you just hurt your knee, you might go to, lower joint support first, lower joint support. But if not, this is what I suggest that you do is go for the frequencies that we've labeled kind of generically. But these are things that people do not know about in our society today. Again, they haven't been taught, so they are feeling, rough, and they don't know why. They'll go to doctor after doctor after doctor. And sometimes I have clients come into my office and, I've been diagnosed with this after 26 years. Okay. So Lyme disease is a big one. But what I'm trying to say is we all need to be protecting ourselves from a variety of things that we're not educated on. So this folder here takes care of those ideas. The first one, called wave relief, is for inflammation. And that's a big key word around now. Everybody knows there's inflammation in your body. So start with that one. Then the next one is Lyme wave for Lyme disease. And there are many ideas, many co-infections in Lyme disease. And what they're not telling us is that every person who gets on an airplane could get off the airplane with Lyme disease if their body is not functioning correctly, if their immune support is down. Lyme disease is contagious. So it's gone across the country. Everybody has it. And that's another whole theory, if you haven't heard that, about how Lyme disease. I don't know if you've talked to your listeners to it about it, but I actually had a lady in my office who was from Lyme, Connecticut, and every single person in her family, 6 members, had Lyme disease. And there's 300 some diseases connected with it. So that's why you go from doctor to doctor to doctor, because they're trying to figure out what you might really have. So protect yourself and play Lyme disease. Okay. That's just a given. When I'm on an airplane, I play Lyme disease. Sometimes I play colds and flu, but playing something. Another idea is parasites. They do not tell us about parasites and how dangerous they are. And that's because they don't really have that many medications for them, So they literally know that there are millions of kinds of parasites. And I have a hard time figuring that out. It's like, wow, but I keep reading the numbers. And, one place in particular says, yeah, there's 6 million kinds of parasites. Now, I used to say thousands, but many places, again, are saying a multitude, millions of parasites, kinds of parasites. So we have frequencies on the Wave Watch for parasites, and you need to be playing that, okay? Because you can be, your knee could hurt, and you could be in a wheelchair, and it's just parasites that are attacking your knee. Seriously, they know that it's connected to MS. They know it's connected to all of these different things. And yeah, we're never told about that. So there's something that you can do that circumvents some of the problems that you might have. Another one is called wave defense. And that actually is for frequencies that have to do with that big C word. So we know that Epstein-Barr virus, the E. coli, a whole bunch of different parasites can cause cancer. So that is a folder that I developed for that. And then the last one that I tell you to play is Wave Detox. And that's to detox all of this stuff that we're breathing, that comes out of the air, that we're eating, that goes on and on and on. That's from our, jabs, that kind of thing. So those are the best areas to play first, just to protect your health. So that's why I emphasize those.
Well, that makes perfect sense. Actually, I think it was my wife was telling me back in Australia, there's a guy that she knew that was in a natural healing, and I think he had a Rife machine of some sort that he was using. And there was a guy that had come in that was really sick, and he did this, and she said that you could literally see parasites crawling out from under his fingernails, coming out of the pores, like literally, and she witnessed this, that you could see the parasites like almost like they're running from the body because of these frequencies. So this is the real deal. And so the watch itself, does it, I'll pull up your website, which is wavewatch.com, WAV watch.com. Does it make a sound?
Vibrations. Yeah.
Yes. Does it make a sound? Is it something that you is kind of loud or?
No, it does make a sound, but when you put it on your wrist, it actually fades the sound out. And so the sound is being absorbed into your body. Okay. And so you can hear it if you want to, but after a while, you'll know your watch is working and playing, and the body is absorbing the sound. You do want to make sure that you don't turn it off. It does need to vibrate to actually make a small sound before your body can feel it. But So that makes it a lot easier, because some tools are like making loud noises, and no, this one does make a sound, but your body is absorbing it, and it does modify or modulate the sound when it goes into your cells.
Okay. And so walk us through the buying process. So and it's wavewatch.com. I'll make sure all this information is in the description. We do have a discount code, Seth. It's my name, SETH. So you'll get an additional discount.
So that is the newest watch. And it's called the 2.2, Whole family can share it. So just like the man from Denmark that you heard talking about his daughter and his girlfriend. So 3 of them used one watch and shared it, and all had amazing turnovers.
Oh, so it's not something that you have to wear all day. You could just put it on for 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Like it's something that
usually about an hour. It's about an hour cycle.
About an hour to run the cycle. So you can, so one family can share it. This is something that you could just be sitting and reading a book.
Right.
My hour's up, right?
That's exactly. And you can wear them all night long. So a lot of people use them for the sleep frequencies. So, I hate to use the word addicted, but people are addicted to the Wave Watch, and they'll wear it, 22 hours a day. And some people have even bought two so that they don't have to stop wearing it when the other one is charging.
Wow.
Yeah, so it is really funny. And some people buy them for their pets. I haven't mentioned yet that your pets can use them. So obviously I have some extra watches since I'm the developer, but we have a special watch just for our dog, and we set it on parasites. That's where you get all your parasites from, is your animals,
Exactly. Exactly.
And I had a lady that just bought one for her cat. So we do have extra wristbands, and you can just, put an extra Velcro wristband on, and it will go make a collar to fit around your animal. Really, really easy,
Incredible.
So, and people give us testimonies about anxiety from their animals going away. And a couple of ladies have sent me pictures of their horses, that have, you can't even imagine, one horse couldn't chew for like 8 or 9 days. Its teeth were messed up. And I have a picture of the Wave Watch being tucked underneath the saddle blanket, so it touched the horse's skin. And gosh, the next day it could eat.
Wow. What a magical thing you've created and just, I guess, and also stumbled upon this lost technology. I wouldn't say it's lost, but it's so difficult and it's so inaccessible. But I think you've done a great job. And I can see that you understand business and marketing, and you understand the need for a product. And you've created a very functional product, which is good, because a lot of people, like I was looking at through some of your testimonials earlier, and people had even special needs children that were calming down. They had dental issues that were being fixed, like all kinds of things that they were being able to fix with this. So it's incredible. And so, well, thank you for giving us your time. And do you have any final thoughts as we wrap up?
I have one more idea to share. I share this all the time, but my favorite story taught me something. A gentleman called, and he said he bought the watch for his wife with Parkinson's. And then he cleared his throat, and you could tell he was kind of embarrassed. He couldn't figure out what to say. And finally, he just blurted out, and he said, "And we sleep really close together." And I'm just on the phone, okay. And then he blurts out again, and I could feel her frequencies when she had the Wave Watch on. Wow. And I got up the next morning, and my feet didn't hurt. I'm going, oh, that's really neat. And he goes, no, you don't understand. My feet have hurt for 15 years. I've been on meds for 15 years. So he snuggled with his wife for 2 more weeks, and he got off his meds.
Incredible.
So I didn't know how easy it was for the frequencies to pass from us to our animals, to your baby or grandchild. If you're screaming, 11 people have now sent me testimonies that they take it on a plane. And when there's some baby screaming on the plane, they just turn their watch up, set it on calming, and they're calming. They're saying, it calmed the baby down. I don't know, but when 11 people tell you that, you think there's something to it,
Incredible.
So I did not know how easy it is to share the frequencies.
Wow. Well, this is what a fun story, and I'm excited for this. I'm looking forward to getting one of these. So, and I see a lot of things. I'm not easily excited. So I thank you. You've done something amazing here, and I look forward to getting one and trying it out.
Thank you so much for having me today.
Yeah, thank you. It's been wonderful. I really appreciate you, and it's just thank you for your time and what you're doing. It's been great. Huge thanks to Rumble, because they've never censored me. They've never, ever censored me before. It's never even been a question on the table with these guys. It doesn't matter whether I'm talking about Epstein or today's stuff or SRA or MKUltra. They truly have supported free speech, and I give them a lot of thanks for that. But they've also have done some things which you might be interested. Look, if you're into crypto, if that's kind of your thing, you might want to look into the Rumble wallet, right? So it's really just kind of a question of asking how much control you have over your money, right? So technology's changed. changed, and it's changing how everything about how money is working, right? So crypto started as this niche, but it's really gone mainstream. Faster payments, more control for your middlemen. It's not just hype, it's where a lot of things are actually going. And if you're interested in crypto, getting started is easier than you think. So with Rumble Wallet, you can buy Bitcoin, you can hold dollar-backed stable coins, you can even own digital gold backed by real gold, all in one place. So it's a non-custodial crypto wallet, which means that you, not a bank or a platform, so you control access to your funds. The setup is simple. It connects you with MoonPay, so you can use your debit card, credit card, or bank account and be up and running in minutes. And for a limited time, you can start with $10 in US stablecoin by downloading the Rumble wallet and entering my exclusive promo code MIA10 when you sign up. So you can even use your Rumble wallet to support your favorite Rumble creators like me directly. So do this now. So scan the QR code or just click on the link in the description, which is wallet.rumble.com/MIA. So wallet.rumble.com/MIA and download your free Rumble wallet. From there, you can set up your wallet, enter your promo code MIA10 to get your $10 in US stablecoin. And it's a limited time offer. So act now. So take control of your money, get started with Rumble Wallet today. There are some terms and conditions. You can see that information in the show description.